Everything you do to make her miss you is precisely what pushes her away. You send that text, you make that call, you try to fill the silence because you fear being forgotten. You believe that by maintaining contact, you are keeping the connection alive, stoking the flames of her interest. But what you are actually doing is soothing your own anxiety. Every thinking of you message is a plea for reassurance, a desperate attempt to control her emotional state from a distance. You see, the paradox is that your constant presence, even a digital one, smothers the very mystery that attraction requires to breathe. You're trying to hold on to water, to grasp her attention, but the more you clench your fist, the more she slips through your fingers. You are solving a puzzle for her before she even has a chance to become intrigued by it, and in doing so, you become predictable, safe, and ultimately forgettable. If this idea already hits close to home, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share your own experience in the comments below. You are not alone in this feeling. The lie that most men believe is a simple one: out of sight, out of mind. This fear creates a frantic energy inside you, a desperate need to stay relevant in her world. You imagine her phone lighting up with another man's name. You picture her laughing at a joke that isn't yours. This internal horror film is projected from your own insecurity, your deep-seated belief that your value is temporary and must be constantly reinforced. You operate from a scarcity mindset, treating her attention like a finite resource that will be stolen if you turn your back for even a moment. This transforms you from a man with his own purpose into a security guard for her emotions, a role that is both exhausting for you and deeply unattractive to her. The truth, however, is that a woman's attraction doesn't grow when you're with her. It crystallizes when you're not. That silence you fear so much isn't an empty void, it's a canvas. When you pull away with purpose, her mind begins to paint. She replays your last conversation not as a memory, but as an exploration. She analyzes the look in your eyes, the confidence in your voice, the way you were completely present with her and then completely gone. Her thoughts become a private theater where you are the main character in a story she is desperate to continue. Your absence gives her the space to connect the dots, to fill in the gaps with idealized traits, and to wonder. And it is in that state of quiet wonder that the emotional seeds you planted in your presence begin to take root and grow into something powerful, something she can't quite shake. So you must understand the fundamental shift in your role. You are not the performer who must constantly be on stage to earn her applause. You are the architect of a compelling world that she gets to visit. Your constant communication is like leaving the lights on in an empty house. It removes all mystery and intrigue. The real power lies in your ability to build a life so engaging, so filled with your own mission, that your absence is felt not as a void, but as a palpable presence. She doesn't miss the texts or the calls. She misses the energy of a man who has a destination, a man whose time and attention are valuable because they are not given away freely to soothe his own fears. Your absence, when handled correctly, becomes the ultimate testament to your strength, and it is that strength she truly craves. And so the silence begins. You feel it first as a cold spot in your gut when you see the read notification under your last message, followed by nothing. The hours stretch, and that cold spot grows into a hollow ache. Her silence isn't just an absence of words. It feels like a judgment, a direct and personal verdict on your value. This is the moment the lie takes root. You believe her withdrawal is a referendum on your worth. You start replaying every interaction, every word you said, searching for the fatal mistake. Her quiet becomes a roaring vacuum in your mind, pulling all your confidence and certainty into it. Psychological truth is that her silence has no inherent meaning until you assign one, and you've chosen to assign it the meaning you fear most, that you are not enough, that you have been dismissed and forgotten. This fear then dictates your every move. You become a frantic detective, poring over the evidence of your past conversations, looking for a clue, a sign you missed. You check her social media, not out of curiosity, but for proof of life, a life that is continuing, perhaps even thriving, without you. This is when you start crafting the perfect message, the one that is casual but caring, witty but not trying too hard. You type it, delete it, and retype it a dozen times. Each word is a desperate attempt to regain control over a situation you never had control of in the first place. You're not trying to connect with her. You are trying to medicate your own anxiety with her response. You have outsourced your emotional stability to her phone, waiting for a notification to tell you that you are okay. Tell me if you've seen this pattern before. The fundamental mistake you make is believing that your action is the solution. When she pulls away, your instinct screams at you to close the distance. You see the gap widening and you start to run towards her. You think you're demonstrating commitment, showing her that you won't give up easily. But from her perspective, your pursuit feels like pressure. Her need for space triggers your fear of loss, and your fear of loss suffocates her need for space. Vicious cycle, a self-fulfilling prophecy of rejection. Psychologically, this is the pursuer-distancer dynamic in its rawest form. You are chasing because you are afraid, and she is retreating because she can feel your fear. The more desperately you try to hold on, the more your grip signals weakness, and the faster she feels the instinct to pull her hand away. This leads you to the next layer of the illusion, the belief that attraction can be negotiated. You start to think, if I can just explain my feelings, she will understand. If I can just show her how much she means to me, her own feelings will return. You rehearse long, heartfelt speeches in your mind. You compose paragraphs of text designed to overwhelm her with the sheer volume of your sincerity. But you are trying to solve an emotional equation with logic, and it will always fail. Attraction isn't a courtroom where you can present your case and win a favorable verdict. It is a current, an energy, a weather system. Trying to talk a woman into feeling desire is like trying to argue with a storm. It doesn't hear your reasons. It only feels your force. And its natural reaction is to move away from that pressure. At the core of this self-sabotage is the belief that her interest is a fragile object you must constantly guard. See it as a delicate flame, and you feel that if you turn your back for a moment, the wind will blow it out. So you check on it constantly. You send a morning text. You share a song that made you think of her. You like an old photo. Each of these actions, which you see as stoking the fire, she experiences as you blowing on it too hard, smothering it with your need. You are not projecting strength. You are projecting a deep-seated anxiety that you will be forgotten. A man who is secure in his own world doesn't need to constantly remind a woman he exists. His presence is felt most powerfully in his absence, because his life is the source of his own warmth, his own light. Ultimately, the lie that her silence equals disinterest forces you into a role you were never meant to play. You cease to be the man she was intrigued by and become a problem she has to manage. Your name on her screen no longer sparks curiosity. It triggers a wave of emotional fatigue. She now has to think about how to respond in a way that won't hurt your feelings or encourage your intensity. The beautiful, effortless dance of getting to know someone has become a stressful job for her, the job of managing your emotions. Here is the cruelest irony of all. In your desperate attempt to avoid being forgotten, you have made yourself into someone she actively wants to put out of her mind. You haven't lost her interest. You have buried it under the weight of your own fear. The truth is that her withdrawal is not an act of rejection, but a vital part of attraction's delicate machinery. It is an unconscious reflex, a step back she takes not to escape you, but to properly see you. In that space, her emotions are no longer reacting to your direct presence. They are reacting to the impression you left behind. Her silence is a quiet laboratory where she tests the residue of your energy. Does it linger? Does it hold its shape? She needs to know if the feeling you inspire is real or merely a temporary high created by your proximity. When you break that silence with a needy text, you are storming into her lab and contaminating the experiment. You are preventing her from discovering what she truly feels, replacing her genuine curiosity with the stressful obligation of managing your anxiety. Her distance is a question she asks herself, and you must be strong enough to let her answer it alone. When you are gone, her mind becomes a canvas, and the memory of you is the paint. It's a process of emotional crystallization. She doesn't remember the exact sequence of your words, but she remembers the feeling of confidence in your voice. The small moment of hesitation you had before making a point fades away, replaced by the memory of the conviction in your eyes. This isn't a deception. It is the natural alchemy of attraction. In your absence, the raw material of your interactions is refined. The mundane details are burned away, leaving only the potent, idealized essence of who you are. You cease to be just a man who sat across from her at dinner and become an idea, a feeling, a presence that occupies her thoughts. Your absence gives her the space to paint a more compelling version of you, and it is that version she begins to truly miss. This isn't just poetry. It's a documented feature of the human mind known as the Zeigarnik effect. Psychologically, we are wired to obsess over incomplete tasks and unfinished stories. When you are constantly available, always providing the next text, the next call, the next reassurance, you are completing the story for her. You become a book that has been finished and placed neatly on the shelf, memorable, perhaps, but no longer compelling. However, when you leave with purpose, when you end a conversation at its peak, when you create a space of warm, confident silence, you become an open loop in her mind. Her brain, by its very nature, will work to close that loop. She will replay your last words, wonder about your world, and anticipate the next chapter. You transform from a simple statement into an irresistible question. This mechanism is tied to her deepest, most primal instincts. A woman's emotional system is designed to test for masculine strength, not as a conscious game, but as an ancient evolutionary filter for stability. When she pulls away, she is subconsciously asking one of the most important questions: is his world stable without me at its center? Your desperate pursuit answers with a resounding no. It screams that your emotional equilibrium depends entirely on her. But when you remain in your own frame, focused on your own mission, your silence sends a profoundly attractive signal. It tells her that you are the source of your own gravity, that your world is a solid, thriving place. This doesn't make her feel insignificant. It makes her feel safe. She sees you not as a world she must hold together, but as a kingdom she desires to enter. Think of her desire not as a constant flame, but as an ocean tide. It needs space to ebb and flow. Your constant, needy presence is like a perpetual high tide, stagnant, lacking the energy of movement. For her to feel that powerful, undeniable rush of longing, the water must first pull back from the shore. Your purposeful absence is the moon, the silent, distant force that creates that essential low tide. It is in that quiet, empty space that the energy of her desire can gather, building momentum in the deep before it rushes back, more powerful than before. You have been trying to shout at the waves to stay, when your true power lies in becoming the silent, gravitational center that governs their natural, irresistible rhythm. You don't fight the current. You command the space it moves in. The uncertainty you create isn't a form of punishment. It's the very engine of romantic anticipation. When she isn't sure when she will hear from you next, her brain chemistry begins to change. Not just a feeling, it's a biological process. Her mind starts releasing dopamine, the powerful neurotransmitter of craving and reward-seeking behavior. It's the same chemical cocktail that makes a gambler pull the lever one more time, the same drive that pushes an explorer toward an unknown horizon. The possibility of your return becomes a source of intense focus. By being predictable and instantly available, you neutralize this potent neurological process. You flatten the emotional landscape and remove the thrill of the chase. Your controlled absence, however, turns you into a rewarding mystery she becomes chemically invested in solving. But understand the critical difference between disappearing into strength and disappearing into fear. If your absence is just a passive-aggressive waiting game while you anxiously stare at your phone, she will feel that weak, hollow energy from miles away. Your silence will be loud with neediness. True, powerful absence is an active state. You must disappear into something meaningful. Your work, your gym, your passion, your time with other people. You are not giving her the silent treatment. You are building your empire. The focus of your energy is not on the void she left, but on the fullness of your own life. She feels this distinction on a deep, intuitive level. One feels like a manipulative tactic. The other feels like authentic power, the energy of a man with a destination, and she begins to wonder if she'll be invited along for the journey. Here is the deepest truth you must grasp. She wants to feel the ache of missing you. That feeling of longing for a strong, centered man is a beautiful, deeply feminine experience. It validates her choices and makes her feel vibrantly alive. Your mistake has been trying to rescue her from this essential part of the process. You projected your own fear of being forgotten onto her, and in doing so, tried to soothe an ache she secretly wanted to feel. You thought you were protecting the connection by smothering it with your presence, when you were actually denying her the emotional space required for that connection to deepen, to take root in the soil of her heart. The greatest strength you can show is to trust the process. Trust that your value is not in your constant presence, but in the undeniable weight of your absence. So, the silence has fallen. The average man feels this as a personal crisis, a state of emergency that requires immediate action. His mind races, his thumb hovers over her name, his gut twists with the urgent need to fix the perceived problem. But the centered man does something radically different. He feels the same initial sting, the same cold question mark hanging in the air, but he does not react. He observes. He allows the silence to exist without labeling it as rejection or failure. He understands that this space is not an attack on his value, but a test of his own internal stability. It is the moment he stops being a participant in a drama and becomes a conscious observer of the human condition. He feels the impulse to chase, to explain, to control, but he lets that feeling pass through him, acknowledging its presence without granting it power over his action. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. The ideal reaction, then, is not an action at all. It is a profound act of non-resistance. You must put the phone down and turn your attention back to the world that exists beyond that screen. You return to your work, not as a distraction, but as a mission. You go to the gym, not to post a story for her to see, but to feel the strength in your own body. You have been trying to wrestle with the river, to force its current to flow in the direction of your desires. But you cannot command the water. You can only become the riverbank strong, stable, and unwavering, guiding its course without struggle. By focusing on your own world, you stop fighting her emotional tide. This shift brings a deep, resonant peace. The frantic need to do something dissolves, replaced by the quiet, magnetic confidence of being someone whose world is solid with or without her immediate presence. This is where you redefine your understanding of control. You've been taught to believe that control is about making her respond, about eliciting a specific reaction that soothes your ego. But that is the illusion of power, not its substance. True control is the unwavering mastery of your own response. The centered man understands this on a cellular level. He knows that any attempt to manipulate her feelings is a broadcast of his own internal chaos. So he shifts his focus entirely. Instead of trying to control her, he dedicates himself to embodying the very qualities he wants her to feel from him: strength, composure, and an unshakable inner peace. This isn't indifference. It is the highest form of respect you can offer for yourself and for her freedom to feel whatever she feels. You release the heavy burden of managing her attraction, and in doing so, you become profoundly attractive. You've been trying so hard to be the chaser, running frantically to prove your worth. But the real art is to become the center. You don't attract what you want by pursuing it. You attract what you are by embodying it. The desperate, needy energy of the chase actively repels. The calm, gravitational pull of a man secure in his own orbit, however, is quietly irresistible. This is the subtle, world-changing shift from doing to being. You stop trying to capture her attention and instead focus on becoming so captivating in your own life that her attention naturally drifts back toward your light. This is where you find true freedom. You are no longer a nervous satellite orbiting her moods, but the sun at the heart of your own solar system. Her presence is a welcome warmth, but your fire does not depend on her to burn. She feels this independence, and it makes her want to draw closer to your flame. Of course, there will be moments of doubt. A pang of loneliness might hit you late at night. The question, what if she never comes back, might echo in your mind. This is human. The difference lies in what you do next. The man who is building his foundation does not reach for his phone to numb that feeling with her validation. He sits with the discomfort. He breathes into it. He acknowledges the fear without letting it command his behavior. He uses that moment not as a reason to break his frame, but as an opportunity to strengthen it. He becomes his own source of reassurance. You must learn to sit in a room with your own anxieties without needing someone else to come in and tell you everything is going to be okay. Each time you resist that needy impulse, you forge more emotional steel. She cannot see this internal work, but she will feel its powerful result in your presence. When you do finally decide to reach out, the energy behind it is completely transformed. You are no longer contacting her to check your own emotional temperature or to see if you still matter. You are reaching out from a place of genuine warmth and overflow. The communication is not a question seeking validation, but a statement of your reality. You don't ask if she's been thinking about you. Share something interesting from your world. An invitation to experience the life you are actively building. You are not asking for a piece of her time to fill a void in yours. You are offering her a glimpse into your full, compelling existence. The goal is no longer about getting her back. It's about living a life so engaging, so grounded in your own purpose, that her desire to be a part of it becomes the most natural thing in the world. So you arrive at the final, beautiful reversal. The paradox that haunted you at the beginning now becomes the source of your greatest clarity. She pulls away not because she feels nothing, but because she feels too much, and her entire being needs to know if the man causing this storm within her is a safe harbor or just another passing ship. Her withdrawal was never a verdict on your worth. It was an unconscious test of your stability. Every time you chased, you sent a clear signal. The storm was too much for you. You were afraid of the very power you had awakened in her. But the man who can stand calmly in the face of her emotional tide, the man who doesn't flinch when the waves pull back, is the man she can trust with her soul. Her distance was never about you. It was a question she was asking herself about you, and your calm, unwavering presence is the only answer that matters. This is the alchemy that turns a boy into a king. The obsession with understanding her every move dissolves, replaced by a singular focus on mastering your own. You finally understand that you don't attract by chasing. You attract by becoming so still, so rooted in your own world that you can finally be seen. Your power is not in your ability to hold her attention, but in the gravitational pull of your own purpose. This is no longer a strategy to win her back. It is the path to winning yourself back. The need for her validation evaporates, and in its place, a deep, resonant peace takes hold. You stop trying to be the exciting event in her life and become the unshakable foundation upon which she might want to build one. She feels this shift not as a tactic, but as a fundamental change in your energy, a quiet power that is infinitely more compelling than any loud declaration of love. The game ends the moment you realize you are the only one playing. All her tests, her silences, her moments of distance, they only have power because you grant it to them by reacting from a place of fear. When you are anchored in your own truth, her withdrawal is no longer a threat. It is simply weather, a passing cloud in a sky that you command. She doesn't want your long explanations or your desperate pleas for understanding. She wants your stability. She wants to feel, on a primal level, that your world will not crumble if she needs a moment to find her own center. Your unwavering calm becomes the ultimate reassurance. It tells her that you are not a boy who needs her to feel like a man, but a man who can offer her a world where she is free to be a woman. In your stillness, you give her the greatest gift of all, the freedom to come and go, knowing your light will still be on when she chooses to return. Look back now at the man you were, the one who stared at his phone with a hollow ache in his chest. See him not with judgment, but with understanding. Operating from a lie, a fear that his value was fragile and external. But you are no longer him. You now understand that your presence is defined by the quality of your absence, and that the only approval you ever needed was your own. The frantic energy is gone, replaced by a quiet confidence that radiates from your very core. You have moved from trying to manage her emotions to mastering your own reality. This is the final turn. This is your liberation. The chase is over because you have become the destination. Now, take a breath and let this new truth settle. Comment what you now see in her that you couldn't before.